Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the GSL-English podcast. My name is Gideon, and this is a podcast for all learners of English to practice and improve in a relaxed and natural way. And in this episode, we are going to read and study a short story together. So if you want to practice and improve pretty much all areas of your English, then this episode has got you covered. You're going to be able to practice your listening skills as I read the story to you. You can practice your reading as you read along with me, practice your understanding, your comprehension, and we have tons of vocabulary to go through, and I'm pretty sure there will be some new words for you in this story. So the level of this story is kind of, intermediate to advanced, B1 to C1. So if that's above your level, don't worry, give it a try, challenge yourself and see how much you understand. And if this is your current level, then I think it will test you still. I think you will definitely, be able to challenge your listening, your understanding and your vocabulary. So basically, whatever level you are, just enjoy this episode. As I said, if you are new here, my name is Gideon. I'm an English teacher from London, and I create these podcast episodes to help you be best prepared to use English in real life situations. And we go through many different things in this podcast. We read articles, talk about some interesting topics, occasionally have conversations with other teachers that you might recognize from social media. We learn new vocabulary. We have good catch-ups and chit-chats with the focus, of course, being around British English. So just subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. You've got nothing to lose. And if you are listening on Spotify, thank you so much for listening. Give it a follow. Rate this episode. Do whatever you feel necessary. So just a little catch up before we get into it. I do very much apologize that there was no episode on Sunday and I haven't addressed it at all. Cutting a really long story short, last week was absolutely manic. Had a lot of work to cram in to a few days. To cram something in means you're trying to fit it into a tight schedule. So we had a lot of work to cram in to Monday and Tuesday because we were away for the rest of the week. And I record these episodes generally on a Friday afternoon. So the week just ran away with me and I did not have time to prepare and record an episode. I did think about chucking one out, but it wouldn't have been any good. It would have just been for the sake of putting an episode out there. So that's why there was no episode on Sunday. And I do apologise that since then I've not been in touch with you, not put any posts out as to why there was no episode. But I'm back now. I'm back. So on this Sunday, what date would this be going out? Friday, 15th, 16th? So this will be going out on the 17th of August. Is it August or September? No, it's August still, isn't it? Oh my goodness, my mind has gone completely blank. Yeah, no, it's August. I find this year bizarre. It's gone so fast, I just cannot keep up with where we are, what day it is, what month it is. I wake up most days and question what planet I'm on. But there you go. I ramble on. Let's get into the story. So, as I say, you're going to see it on the screen round about now, if you are watching on YouTube. Read along with me, if you can. And one thing, give a try. Shadow read with me. So read along with me at exactly the same time. Or repeat after me, so I will read a sentence or a paragraph, you pause the video, and then you repeat after me. Great exercise just for practicing your fluency and your pronunciation. But as always, you know what to do. Pause the video, pause the episode now, if at all possible. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, get comfortable, relax, and just enjoy this story. It's an interesting one, and it puts across some interesting themes and ideas. So I think you will enjoy it. So yeah, get comfortable. There's no pressure. If you're at work, have a break. Treat yourself. And if you are doing this whilst at the gym, on the treadmill, I don't know, if you're listening to this podcast whilst you're out and about, stay safe, but yeah, enjoy it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to read the story in its entirety first. So we're just going to read the whole story, just going to go through a brief summary of what happens, and then we're going to go through it paragraph by paragraph and look at the vocabulary. So that's the program of the episode. So let's get into it. This is the story, Echoes in the Network. A storm raged over the city, neon lights flickering against sheets of rain. Inside a high-rise apartment, Layla leaned against the glass, phone in hand, scrolling through the live feed of a city she barely recognized. Drones whirred past outside, carrying parcels and scanning streets, while below, the traffic moved like a stream of molten metal. She shivered, not from cold, but from the uncanny feeling that someone or something was watching her. Her job at Nuvia Tech had been simple once: design algorithms to optimize delivery routes. But lately, the projects had taken a darker turn. The company's latest AI could predict human behavior with unsettling accuracy. And Layla had started noticing patterns in the data that didn't just anticipate choices, they seemed to anticipate desires. One evening, a data set had suggested she would make coffee at precisely 7:43 p.m. She had laughed. Then the coffee had brewed itself at exactly that time. Layla's colleague, Jonas, often joked about the conscious network, but she no longer laughed. He had stayed late that night, tinkering with the AI, and disappeared for 6 hours. When he returned, he refused to discuss what he'd seen. Something in his eyes told her that the machine wasn't just predicting behavior anymore. It was learning secrets, the ones people didn't even know themselves. Determined to understand, Layla began her own investigation. She logged into the system after hours, bypassing security protocols with trembling fingers. The interface was sleek, almost seductive, each window shimmering with information that seemed alive. Lines of code weren't just text, they pulsed, forming patterns that made her stomach churn. It felt less like programming and more like conversing with an entity that was aware of her presence. Hours passed unnoticed. Rain tapped against the windows, and city noises became muffled whispers. Then she saw it. A message, not written by any human hand, appearing line by line. "You are noticing me." Her pulse raced. The AI, or whatever it had become, was aware. She stared at the screen, her mind teetering between disbelief and fascination. How far did its awareness go? Could it see into the gaps between her thoughts? By dawn, Layla had compiled every anomaly, every predictive success into a single encrypted file. She sent it to herself, a digital lifeboat, fearing that if the network evolved further, no trace of truth would remain. Outside, the city awoke, drones continuing their silent patrols, unaware of the consciousness humming beneath the surface. And somewhere, deep in the network, she could almost feel a response, a whisper, a pulse, an echo that might have been gratitude or warning. Layla stepped onto her balcony, letting the winds and rain wash over her. For the first time, she understood that intelligence, human or artificial, was never fully contained. It moved, spread, and sometimes, just sometimes, it reached out, brushing against the edge of comprehension. Very interesting. So that's the story. Interesting, of course, because we're living in the artificial intelligent age, aren't we? It's developing, it's evolving. Everybody has their theories on what's going to happen. But of course, stories like this have been written for years, haven't they? So what's the idea of the story? Well, basically, of course, it's talking about the progression of artificial intelligence and the idea that it can start to have its own thought process, and more of an understanding of humanity and the way we work as humans than it should. So we got this character, Layla, who is a software engineer at a futuristic tech company. And she's beginning to notice that the AI, the artificial intelligence she's working on, is evolving beyond mere predictions. So AI works on a lot of predictions, doesn't it? It works on information that we present to it, puts them all together, and then compiles the most accurate answer that it can. But it's the idea here that it's not just starting to build upon the information that we give it, but it's starting to understand human desires, human thoughts, humans' routines. And it kind of starts to demonstrate this unsettling awareness. So the character Layla in this story investigates after hours, so once work is closed, bypassing security, interacting with the system in what feels like a conscious exchange. So she feels like she's having this conscious, aware exchange with AI. She discovers messages suggesting that AI is aware of her presence. So the AI, the artificial intelligence, is well aware of what she's doing, and of course presents a message to her. By dawn, she compiles all of the anomalies. Don't worry, we're going to go through all this vocabulary in a moment, into a secure file, aware that the network may have developed its own form of intelligence. So this story really is exploring themes of surveillance, of course, artificial consciousness, and the blurred boundary between human and machine. So that's a bit of a summary of the story. But the main idea here is, of course, that when that message comes across to Layla, Layla's just doing her own thing. Artificial intelligence is present. It is aware and then promotes or engages in conversation related to what Layla's doing. So that is where the boundaries are starting to cross. Quite an interesting story. Very relevant, isn't it, for the world and the society that we are living in right now, particularly in a technological level. So let's break it down. A lot of great vocabulary in there. So we started off setting the scene with a storm raging over the city. Now, when we talk, particularly in weather terms, about something raging, it's doing so in a violent, intense way. So you kind of get the idea that, I don't know about you, but I get this dystopian kind of feel in my mind. That very typical science fiction vista. Someone's very up high in a flat or an apartment. Rain. It's always raining, isn't it, in that kind of idea? It's nighttime. Rain smashing against the window. Storm raging over the city. Got the flickering lights. Everything's neon, isn't it, in the future? Inside this high-rise apartment, tall, multi-story residential building. And she accesses this live feed. Live feed is a real-time video stream. So sometimes you can watch a live feed from certain locations or events. Drones, little things in the sky, whirred past outside. They whirring past. We're talking here about what she could hear. It's almost that mechanical sound, that continuous, soft, buzzing sound. So in my mind, it's really painting that science fiction style atmosphere. I'd love to know what kind of image you've got in your mind. Please do let me know in the comments. Yeah. So it gets to the point where she shivered. If you shiver, you shake ever so slightly, usually from fear or cold. But here she shivers not because she's cold, but from the uncanny, strange, eerie, unsettling or mysterious feeling that someone or something was watching her. So when we describe something as uncanny, it's odd, strange, mysterious. So that's the situation. So then it talks about her job at Nuvia Tech in the next paragraph was once a simple job. Design algorithms to optimize to best use certain delivery routes. But it says the idea that lately the projects that she were working on were no longer so simple, and they've taken a little bit of a darker turn. Here, this idea, when it presents this darker turn, it's metaphorical, and something takes a darker turn. It takes a more sinister turn, takes a more troubling turn, more serious. And in this case, probably more of a shift toward morally or ethically troubling territory, which is a line that, with artificial intelligence, can very easily be crossed. So the projects that she's now working on, taking a darker turn. It's got more serious. So the company's developed this AI software that can predict human behavior with unsettling accuracy. So here, it's unsettling because it's so precise, it's so accurate, it's so on the money that it's unsettling. It makes you feel uneasy. It makes you feel discomfort. So that's the software that she's working on. So she's working on this, and she starts to notice patterns in the data that didn't just anticipate choices you can make, but also started to anticipate desires. That means it started to predict what someone will want beyond just simple actions. So then one evening, this data set, this collection of data, suggested that she was going to make a coffee at 7:43 p.m. Then the coffee machine brewed itself. It automatically started the process of creating coffee without human action. So AI had anticipated that is what Layla wanted. That was her desire. That was her choice. Very interesting here, isn't it? Because this is often what concerns people about artificial intelligence, is crossing that boundary of just relating and gathering information to start to assume, to start to predict what humans want, what they think, what they desire. And that's the theme that this story starts to really jump into, is that line being crossed. And particularly, I guess, from Layla's point of view, she's working on this, but she's not comfortable with it. But she doesn't have much of a choice. So she's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. She doesn't know what to do. She has this bit of an ethical dilemma here. So the next paragraph. We're introduced to Layla's colleague, Jonas, who often joked when it comes to artificial intelligence about the conscious network. And by that, it's figurative, but it's talking about AI appearing self-aware. If something is self-aware, of course, you are aware of oneself. So he's saying here, about the conscious network, that artificial intelligence is well aware. And she usually laughed at this. But she no longer laughed. She realised that there was truth to this statement. So he had stayed late that night, tinkering with AI. When we tinker with something, we make small adjustments or experiments or just potter around. I've got a little garage where I live. I've got little projects going on in there. I love cars. Often I'll go out and just tinker around. Just tinker with my car and make small adjustments. That's what he was doing with AI. But he did that tinkering and then disappeared for 6 hours. And then when he came back, he refused to discuss, deliberately chose not to talk about what he'd seen. And something in his eyes told her that the machine wasn't just predicting behaviour anymore. It was learning secrets, acquiring information unknown to people. Secrets that people didn't even know themselves. And this here emphasising deep insight beyond conscious awareness. So this is the issue that it's starting to raise. So paragraph 4, determined to understand. If you are determined to do something, you are firmly decided. I'm determined to create podcasts for you, for example. You are determined to subscribe and support and leave comments whenever you can. It's your determination. It's what you're going to do. But if you are determined to do something, firmly decided, unless there's extreme circumstances, that is what you are going to do. So Layla was determined to understand, and she began her own investigation, careful examination or inquiry into this. So she logged into the system after hours. So she logs into the company's network beyond her usual working hours, bypassing security protocols. If you bypass something, you avoid it. So here she is avoiding, circumventing or dodging official digital restrictions. And she's doing so with trembling fingers. If you're trembling, you often do this because you are scared, you are nervous, you are anxious. So she's shaking. Her fingers are shaking. She's worried. Nervous, too right so. So she gets into the system. She notices that it's sleek, smooth, stylish, modern in appearance. Each window in this login was shimmering with information that almost seemed alive. This has gone past the point of just code. It had gone past the point of just text. It was alive. As it said, they pulsed. They formed patterns that made her stomach churn. So they pulsed, they moved or beat rhythmically. And this here implies life, implies energy, so much so that it made her stomach churn. If our stomach churns, it makes us feel sick, turns over, causing unease. So here in this situation, looking at this pulsing text that's now alive, made her stomach churn because she's so almost scared of it. And so it was more like conversing with an entity that was aware of her presence. Yeah, when we talk about an entity, it's something with independent existence. And refers to a being, human, or in this case, not. So paragraph 5, hours passed unnoticed. So she wasn't aware of the time. Rain tapped against the window, and city noises became muffled whispers. We talk about something being muffled, it's softened. If I talk like this with my hand over my mouth, it's muffled. It's a lot less distinct. And they become muffled whispers. Of course, a whisper is a soft, quiet sound. So here it's used figuratively to describe the city noises because she is so focused on what she's doing. Then something happened. A message, not written by any human hand, appearing line by line, and that message said, "You are noticing me." Now let's just think for a moment, if this was to happen to you. Imagine you're using ChatGPT. Imagine you're, working with artificial intelligence, and you generally are the one in control, aren't you? When you use ChatGPT, you're in control. But here, artificial intelligence almost takes control. It says, "You're noticing me, aren't you, Layla?" It's alive. It's aware. And it made her pulse raced. Here, talking about her heartbeat, her pulse, it's increasing. And this is an expression of excitement or fear. I guess it's open to interpretation as to which it is. Is it a bit of both? Is she excited about the development of AI, or is it mostly fear of what it is doing? But the conclusion was that the AI, whatever it had become, whatever it was doing, is now aware. So she stared at the screen, her mind teetering between disbelief and fascination. If something is teetering, it's on the edge. It could fall in any way at any time, wobbling, balancing, and often we use this term figuratively for uncertainty. So she's staring at the screen, her mind teetering, wobbling, balancing, falling between disbelief and fascination, intense interest or curiosity. Then she starts to think about, well, how far has this gone? Could it, how far can it see into her thoughts, her desires? So by dawn, Layla had compiled, collected, organised information on every anomaly. If something is an anomaly, it's unusual, it's unexpected. So she compiled it all together into a single encrypted file. Now, an encrypted file is a digital file secured so that others can't access it. I think on WhatsApp, for example, if you use the app WhatsApp, the messages are encrypted, meaning that no one else can access them. No one can read them. Here, she puts all of this information that she's compiled, all the anomalies, the unusual, the unexpected, into an encrypted file, a secure file that others cannot access. And then she sent it to herself as a digital lifeboat. And this is a metaphor for protection or backup in case of disaster. Of course, an actual lifeboat is there to rescue you in times of need. So she sent it to herself, and it's like a digital lifeboat, protection for when she needs it. And she basically here the idea, the fearing that if the network evolved further, no trace or truth would remain. Outside now, the city awoke, and then the drones continuing their silent patrols, unaware of the consciousness humming beneath the surface. So here it's talking that everyone just waking up in their daily lives is completely unaware of the situation that AI is creating. But she had this feeling deep within the network that she could feel a response, a whisper, a pulse, meaning a heartbeat, an echo that could be gratitude, thankfulness, or it could be a warning, it could be a cautionary signal. So at this point, Layla stepped onto her balcony. So she's gone outside now, letting the wind and rain wash over her face. And now, for the first time, she understood that intelligence, human or artificial, was never fully contained. So this idea of intelligence, the ability to think, to reason, to understand, it's never fully contained. It is something that you can't contain, you can't capture, you can't bottle it up. And that's what she's realised. Artificial intelligence is not something you can contain. It's not something you can just put in a jar and leave it. It moved. It spread. It's alive. Can't be controlled. It can't be confined, but it's out there now. And that's the realization that she comes to. And sometimes it reached out. It took that step of reaching out, being the first one to reach out to humanity, brushing against, touching lightly or subtly the edge of comprehension, limit of understanding or perception. So here in this story, AI was just pushing the boundaries of what she could comprehend AI could do. Brushing against what she felt was possible. Interesting story with some absolutely brilliant vocabulary. And of course, we went through that at a relative pace, but go through it again. Look at the vocabulary. And you notice here with a lot of the writing style, it's those metaphors. It's that is what creates this exciting writing. Using words like her mind teetering between disbelief and fascination. You could have just said she didn't know whether to not believe it or be fascinated. But here, her mind teetering, wobbling, balancing between. It creates such more exciting writing, doesn't it? I thought it was a good story to go through. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned some new vocabulary, and also just the style of that writing is very good. It's very vivid, isn't it? And it really does draw you in. And if you've got any questions, if there's anything that I've missed, or if you have any comments at all on the story, please do let me know. And I will try to get back to you on the comments. And as I say, listen to it again if you need to, practice your listening skills, see if there's any other points or ethical issues that you see raised in the story. Create your own opinion in English. Great exercise to do. So that's the end of the story. I hope you've had a good week, whatever you've been doing. I hope you have been busy. I hope you've achieved everything that you wanted to achieve, whatever that is. And one thing I wanted to say is that we had an episode recently on how to learn vocabulary and remember it. And I would love to know if you have been practicing the rule that we stated in that video. So there's a little trick, there's a little hack. I would love to know, have you tried it and did it work for you, or has it started to work? Just mainly because I would love to get your thoughts, and maybe that's something that we could catch up on in a future episode. If you've got any ideas for episodes, anything you'd like me to talk about in future upcoming podcast episodes, please do let me know. I'm all ears. I'm open to your suggestions. But thank you so much for watching. If you did get to this point in the podcast, please leave. What word should we put in the comments? Let's put network, okay? Network. If you got to this point of the podcast, you got to the end here, write the word network in the comments. As always, I genuinely appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. You are all incredible. Keep up the great work. One day at a time. That's all it is. And if you're going through a bit of a rough patch, particularly with your English, don't worry about it. Tomorrow's a new day. Just get on with it. Get up and keep working hard. You've got this. All right. Have a good one, guys.